Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to give you 5 Cardano ADA predictions that actually make sense. And we'll see whether these predictions age like, milk or a fine wine. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Let's go. So we're going to start with the first prediction for Cardano ADA that makes a lot of sense. And that is that Cardano, seeing Project Catalyst heating up with over 1,600 proposals, ecosystem boost could make Cardano ADA skyrocket. And actually, there's a lot to be said for the growth of the ecosystem. So we've got reminder voting on proposals in Project Catalyst Fund 14 is scheduled to begin today. And this was the 22nd of September. Obviously, this is a pre-recorded video. There are over 1,600 ideas that have been submitted for review, and that is across 4 categories. And again, this is the governance aspect of things, really, really positive, exciting times. And ultimately, these are the things that could see Cardano actually have a bigger ecosystem, more engagement from builders and new individuals coming into the ecosystem. There's a few things that we can couple that with, but ultimately it is very, very exciting in my humble opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And then the next prediction here, and this is Cardano's roadmap. 2025, can Cardano ADA reach a new all-time high? Right, this is all really to do with the roadmap allocates millions of ADA to stablecoins, DeFi, RWAs, and Venture Hub to boost on-chain utility. So it could just be actually the allocations of this, funds could actually make a really big difference to the Cardano ecosystem, right? We won't even touch on Midnight and that privacy layer aspect of things and what that will do for Cardano. I think that is, again, that could be a 6th prediction for Cardano ADA, that it brings in a lot more adoption. But when there's focus on stable coins, DeFi, RWAs, I think that this is a really, really important thing to be discussing, right? This is all to do with the foundation, with their latest update, ADA price prediction for October 2025, as all these articles labeled up price prediction. But it's really talking about the 6-point roadmap to jumpstart DeFi, Web3, and governance. So this is a really big deal. It will add ADA liquidity and RWA plans are on the table. So this stuff is really big and comes in as my second really big prediction that actually makes a lot of sense, right? So, prediction, it could be also seen as that catalyst for, big price movements. But you can let me know your thoughts and opinions. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. Treat it purely as entertainment purposes only. It could age like milk. It could age like fine wine. Nothing is guaranteed in crypto. So, you've got to do your own research and never invest more than you're willing to lose, because you do risk losing it all in investing in crypto, because nothing is guaranteed, right? So again, Cardano price prediction. Once ADA breaks $1, $3 may come sooner than you think, according to analysts. Now, I've said this a few times. I think Cardano ADA, $3 is pretty much inevitable. It's not even its previous all-time high. I think that we will get a new all-time high for Cardano. Not guaranteed, just my opinion, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, just so we're really clear from the get-go. But again, my third prediction is that we do see a $3 Cardano ADA this bull market cycle, whatever we want to use as terminology. So again, that's my third prediction here. I think that it, again, is a solid one. But you let me know, do you think that's a solid price prediction? Do you think that that's a solid prediction that is likely to come to fruition? Obviously, nothing's guaranteed, but let me know in the comments below. And then I wanted to talk about Cardano spot ETF. Again, it's not just Cardano, it's XRP, it's Solana, it's a few others, but it's to hit Wall Street after the SEC pause. Grayscale Fund tracking XRP, Solana and Cardano was primed for its debut in the US following long sought approval from the SEC. Obviously they paused, but this doesn't mean that it's dead in the water. And ultimately I think, and I said this, so before Bitcoin's spot ETF even went live, I was on a podcast with BitGet. You can check out BitGet's channel on YouTube. You will see Nick and myself talking about this. Before Bitcoin's spot ETF even went live, we were saying the Ethereum one is inevitable in our humble opinions. And we were strong in our conviction for that. Even back then, we were saying the same for altcoins like Solana, like XRP, like Chainlink, like Cardano. And we really still kind of are of that same mindset. We are super bullish, super excited. And again, could be a prediction that seems really realistic, but also, could be a catalyst, right? Grayscale, advancements in spot ETF plans, sees Cardano's price surge back on the 14th of August, right? So like there's a lot of appetite for this. There's a lot of people in, the investment world, whether that is from, say, institutional investment, or whether that is actually from, retail investors, I should say. There is a lot of appetite for this, right? And ultimately, at the moment, we've got two, not landscapes, I'm trying to think of the right word. Like, we're operating in two worlds right now when you kind of think about altcoins. You've got Ethereum operating in a world where it's got access to institutional money, right? It flows in because of the spot ETFs. So same with Bitcoin, right? And then you've got all of the other altcoins. And some of these altcoins are actually outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum on the yearly, right? So over a year, they've actually outperformed both Bitcoin and Ethereum. So when you consider that, right, imagine Cardano, which is outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum, but Bitcoin and Ethereum are operating in a completely different landscape, right? With way more exposure to different, amounts of money, right? And different types of investors. If Cardano had that, what would it perform like? Like, let me know your thoughts and opinions on that. Just food for thought, right? They're in two different landscapes, operating completely different, buckets, right? As I would put it. The next one is, Cardano $1 breakout to the $4 to $6 long term, right? Now I've said my prediction, and this is the fifth and the final one for this bull market. Blue sky world would be $7, right? $10 if you kind of consider 2030 more longer term. But actually, where it becomes, quite plausible is when you kind of consider the fact that, if you had all of the money come onto the blockchain, right? You had, so that's all the money in the world, right? You had that come onto the blockchain, all of the big projects that get that utility, that money flowing through utility, real world utility, they're all going to see new all-time highs, right? Even Ethereum would, even Bitcoin would, if they used those ecosystems, right? So I kind of want to just put it out there. Like, I kind of foresee a $10 trillion market for the crypto market come the peak of the bull run, all crypto, right? However, that would skyrocket to hundreds of trillions, maybe quadrillions, if you had all of the money in the world come onto the chain, right? And those projects that actually are able to, handle that, give you utility in the real world are going to, be the ones that prosper, right? In my opinion, at least, right? Nothing's financial advice, nothing's guaranteed, but these are my views, my opinions, and I'm entitled to them. And I'm interested in yours, so let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video so far. And when you kind of, put in that missing piece of the jigsaw, right? When you kind of think of the layers of blockchain, right? You need a privacy layer, right? A layer that's compliant privacy, where you can mask and unmask. So, people like doctors, if you take the medical industry as a great example, you can unmask your medical records for doctors, pharmacists, surgeons, medical professionals, right? Only the bits that they need to see, and then no one else can see it, right? You think about that from a medical standpoint. Think about it from banking. Think about it from business, right? If you're running a business, you don't want people being able to identify where you're buying your products from. You don't want people to understand how much you're paying for the products, right? You might charge one client one price and another client another price, right? You don't want that to be visible to the public. So, once that privacy layer comes in, it does change the game. It does make it more achievable, foreseeable to have all the money on the blockchain. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on that. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Something a little bit different. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, join us in the free educational Discord, link in the description of the video. And don't forget, you can stake your Cardano ADA to the Cardano stake pool, ticker 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍𝗍𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒐𝗍𝒂. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll catch you in the next one.